Hi kids, it's me again. Here we are. Someday we'll be together again and I'm looking forward to that day. You know, you all have been so nice about watching the videos and learning from them. And I've been getting requests to do certain stories that you all love. And this week I'm doing the story about Jonah and the big fish. And I think that was one of the favorite ones that you all liked. So we're going to do that today. And if you will pay attention, I think this story has a good meaning to everybody because we have all done things that were kind of against God because we've done something like told a lie or maybe we're jealous of somebody or one of those things. So this story is pretty good to teach us that God loves us no matter what. So this is a story about Jonah. And Jonah was a prophet of God. Now remember, that was somebody that God would talk to, and that person would go and tell people about what God had told them. So God came to Jonah and said, Jonah, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go to the town of Nineveh, and I need you to tell those people all about me and how much I love them, even though they have been very bad. And Jonah thought about that. And gosh, he didn't like those people at all. He had heard all kinds of horrible things about them. But that's what God was telling him to do, and he was supposed to do what God told him. And of course, God knows best, and God made the world, and surely God would tell him to do something that was important. So Jonah got his stuff together and started to head to Nineveh. But no, he didn't. He went the opposite way. Nineveh was on one side. He was going to run away from God and get as far away from Nineveh as he could. Those people were bad. He didn't want them to turn around and be good. He wanted God to punish them. He didn't like any of the stories that he heard about them. They were just horrible. So he ran and ran and ran and ran. And he ended up down where the boats are. The boats that carry supplies to other cities. And Jonah paid the captain some money, got on the boat, got in there, went all the way down to the bottom of the boat and fell sound asleep. He was so tired from running and running away from God. I don't know how that works, and I don't know how somebody like Jonah would have thought that would have ever worked, but nevertheless, he tried it. He tried to run away. So he went down and fell asleep in the bottom of the boat. And once they loaded all the stuff on the boat and got ready to go, they loaded the boat, took off, went out into the water, and all of a sudden, they were hit with a storm like they had never seen before. The waves were coming up over the boat. Everything was horrible. The sky was terrible. Everything was really horrible. And the men who worked on the boat and the captain didn't know what to think. They'd never seen a storm like this before. So they thought the best thing to do would be to take some stuff off the boat. Just throw it out into the water to keep the boat up so it would stay floating and not be weighed down too much. That didn't work either. So the men started praying to their gods. Well, their gods were pretend gods. They weren't even real. They prayed to like statues and stuff. And you know, that's not God. There's only one God. So the captain went down and saw Jonah was sleeping in the bottom of this boat. And he said, wake up, we're in big trouble. Do you have a God you can pray to? And Jonah said, I sure do. I have the one and the only God that I pray to, but he's going to be a little bit mad at me. And the captain said, do you feel this boat? This boat is in big trouble. And if you have a God, I think he is mad at you because our boat is getting ready to sink. So Jonah went up on top of the deck and said, oh my goodness, God is mad at me. He wanted me to do something and I didn't do that. I ran away. And of course, you can't run away from my God. He created the heavens and the earth and the water that this boat is on. And Jonah said, you guys are going to have to throw me overboard. Well, they were horrified. We can't throw you over. You'll drown. You'll die out there. And he said, no, in order to save you all, you need to throw me off the boat. And so they didn't really want to do it. These were good men. That was not something that they would feel comfortable with. But it was either Jonah being thrown off into the water or the whole boat sinking. So they did. They weren't even sure that was going to work, but they did it. So they threw Jonah over, and as soon as Jonah hit the water, the whole storm went just calm. The waves calmed down. Everything turned back to the way it was since they threw Jonah off the ship. It was just amazing. Well, the captain and the men said, Jonah's God is the real God. He is the God. He controlled all this. Jonah's God was right, and we need to learn more about Jonah's God. In the meantime, Jonah was in the water, and he sank way, 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 way down in the water, and he was surely going to drown. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this big fish came along. Some people call it a whale. We're not really sure what kind of fish it is, but it doesn't matter. A big fish came along and swallowed Jonah whole. Didn't chew him up or anything, just swallowed him. And Jonah realized that he was just saved from drowning. He didn't drown, but now he was in a fish, a big fish. I bet it stunk in there, and there was probably all kinds of stuff floating around in there. And, couldn't have been very good, but not only that, it was dark. Fish don't have windows. So there he was, in the bottom of the whale. And he just didn't know what was going to happen to him. And I can understand that. I wouldn't know what was going to happen to me either if that happened to me. But then, it's like I always say, God is always listening. So Jonah prayed, and he said, I'm really sorry, God. First of all, thank you for saving me with this fish. I didn't drown. But I know that I caused all this trouble because I didn't listen to you and do what you said to do. So he asked God for forgiveness. And as we know, that's all we have to do. No matter what we do, if we ask God for forgiveness, he forgives us. He loves us so much that he will forgive us almost anything at all. And so that's what Jonah asked for. He asked for forgiveness. Well, God, I'm sure, forgave him right away. But Jonah stayed in that whale for 3 days and 3 nights. I can't think of anything more horrible, but that's what he did. And at the end of those 3 days, God told the fish to go spit Jonah out onto the sand. And the fish did exactly what God had told him to do. Well, there was Jonah, all stinky and smelly like a fish, and probably looked horrible. And he decided he better get to Nineveh and do what God told him in the first place. So there he was, all a mess, heading to Nineveh, and he told the story to the people there. And when they heard that story, the whole story, they couldn't believe it. They said, your God is amazing. And Jonah says, what's even more amazing is he's going to forgive all of you all for all the bad things you've ever done, but you need to ask for forgiveness. And the people listened, and they learned, and they believed. And the king came down and said to the people, we need to have Jonah's God as our God. We need to find out more and more about this God that can save Jonah and put him in a whale and spit him out on the side of the river and send him to us. We need to find out about this God. We know that this is the true God. And that's what we know too, kids. We know that there's only one God, our God, the God Miss Doty tells you about every week. That God loves you so much. You can't do anything that God won't forgive you for. You have to feel it in your heart and ask for forgiveness. If you're fighting with your brothers and your sisters right now because y'all are too close, or you're not obeying your mom, or you're just don't want to do your schoolwork while you're at home, I don't know, whatever possible things are making you miserable while we can't have our lives back like we normally can play and do and go to school and be with different people. You just need to talk to God like I always tell you. Tell him that you're sorry, that you're going to try and be a little bit better each day. Listen, I love you. I'm missing you like crazy. I thank you so much for listening. And if you have another request for what story you'd like to hear, just let Miss Doty know, okay? Bye.